Hey, wait a minute. Is that a welcome to another episode of Unlocking the Mind Behind Make More Work Less? My name is Fong. I'm an entrepreneur, business strategist, real estate investor, speaker, and also a best-selling author. And every single day, I help others unlock the potentials and guide them to succeed. Today on Unlocking the Mind, we talk about another cognitive bias. And the reason why I have this show is so that we can better understand how our minds work, how to make better decisions, make stronger relationships, and also avoid certain cognitive traps. So for today's cognitive bias, let me ask you a question. Have you ever looked at something and go, wait a minute, that looks like a face. Look at this one, and this one, and this one. My favorite is this one. Or you look at a whole bunch of clouds and you go, wait a minute, I think that looks like some tater tots. Or wait a minute, I think that looks like a house. Some of my favorites are looking at cars and houses and go, man, that looks like a face. That looks like a face right there. And that looks like an animal right there. So why does this happen? Well, that is pareidolia. What exactly is that? That is when our minds find patterns to make us recognize something that's not as complex, but makes us think of something else so that we can give some meaning to it. We find patterns in data. We find patterns in nonsense. We want to find meaning we want to put meaning and find meaning out of nonsense. And sometimes that allows us to make something more familiar so that we could feel more comfortable. Now, this is actually very, very important to our minds because if we don't have this, we can't recognize anything. Just think, if we don't have pareidolia, that means every time we meet somebody, we won't recognize them. Why? Because they will change a little bit all the time when we see them. If they get a haircut, we won't know them at all because we don't have that recognition. We can't put those patterns together. If we saw somebody 2-3 years later and they've grown or they've changed their haircut or they actually got older and they got wrinkles and stuff like that, that means we won't be able to recognize them anymore because we don't have that sense of recognizing patterns and putting things together. The same thing happens with sounds. If we hear something and we actually want to put that to something that's more familiar and we will make ourselves more comfortable. But again, if we hear somebody's voice after X amount of years and we don't have pareidolia, then that means we won't recognize those voices even if it changed just a little bit. So pareidolia actually helps us be more familiar. It helps us recognize certain things and recognize certain patterns. But that's also why we see faces and stuff. That's why we see animals in clouds and why we see faces in toasts. That's why you hear those stories about, oh, I saw God in my toast, or I saw the devil in the fire, or I saw the devil in the sky, or we saw an angel in the clouds and all that kind of stuff. That's because we recognize patterns and our minds wants to protect us, giving us some familiarity as to what we're seeing, even if that something could be complete nonsense. So this is also very important when recognizing letters and writing. So for instance, if we don't have pareidolia, the letter A could be completely different every single time because you write the letter A different than how I will write the letter A. And without pareidolia, we won't recognize the letter A because everybody writes it differently. So that's why pareidolia is so important to our minds. But sometimes if we actually use this to our advantage, we could actually make it so that people recognize certain things, certain patterns, to let them think certain ways, making it feel like it's humorous. If we do stuff like this, making people go, oh, wow, that's kind of neat. It makes it more memorable, or make them more familiarized, or make them more comfortable getting to know you a little bit more. So that is what pareidolia is. It's recognizing stuff out of nonsense to make it give some meaning. So that is pareidolia. And if you like this episode, please go back and watch some of my other episodes on Unlocking the Mind. And if you like this show, then we have a lot of other shows, the Peak Potential Success Show, the Make More Mind Bites, and of course, Master Mind Bites that's up every single week. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please give me some comments, your likes, your subscriptions. I always appreciate those, and I love seeing those comments. And until next time, today is the day to unlock your peak potential. I'll see you later.